Okay. So I'm not going to present you a complete history of my work concerning computer graphics. Just to mention concerning quarks, something that is probably at the origin of many things I've done after. There is one thing maybe that could remain from quarks. This is the fact that I was trying to find very serious and the final explanation of everything wrong in the world. So the quarks, for those of you who know that theories are invisible beings like elastofragmentoplast, spirothermophage, polymorphoproximants, and spatiostriata, and so on. Very scientific things. Every of them explain why the world is not perfect. So in many of my works after that, I was trying to find very important, very serious explanation of everything that could be wrong or difficult to understand for everybody. So this is quite a pedagogical mission. We are going to present you different interactive works using, for most of them, virtual reality. We could say maybe virtual world, and I'm not going to have a discussion about is it virtual reality or not, is it immersive or not. What is specific maybe in this approach is the fact that I'm trying to work on the way of writing with this kind of space and sound, the way of writing using interactive situation. I mean, not really concerning interactive devices, but more how it's possible to write with interactivity and what it is possible to say. And maybe how to say what I want to say using these technologies. So could say that technology come after. And very often in many of the things you're going to see, the software has been completely developed for that. So it's not using existing software and making a demo of the possibilities, but more trying to find the shape for ideas that has been maybe for most of them developed by the humankind for thousands of years. I think we are always talking about the same subject. So just to start with the tape, I would have liked to have that on the screen before, but now we are going the tape, thank you. And so I would like to have the first tape to show you the first series of installations called The Big Questions. So we need to be darker, please. Thank you. So the first of the big questions that everything is wondering all the time is God flat? So I think most of you are wondering about it. So it's a room, a square room, made of bricks, and the floor and the ceiling are made of bricks, and you can move freely inside the room, really freely. Sometimes you have a picture moving in it, but very often you have nothing in it. So after enjoying the fact to be completely free, you just leave it and you think, what's the use? But some people maybe are more impulsive, so they try to find a meaning to that. Why does this guy do such silly things? So they hit the walls. And at that time, a corridor is dug in the direction you hit the wall, whatever may be the direction. And you discover you were not in a room with walls made of bricks around you, but the world is completely full of bricks, and the only part free is where you are. So you are building architecture moving inside. This is an architecture only for you. You can, at every time, you can decide to create new corridors, and you are creating a kind of labyrinth in which you could use yourself. But the difference with normal labyrinth is that the walls are never limits, but there is no exit. Very simple. So the architecture still remains, so you can go back and see how it's built behind you. And if you're lucky, you can find pictures moving inside freely. And these pictures show how the man represents the creator of the world. This is mostly flat things, maybe moving slowly, floating in the space, transparent when it's far, but coming to you when you go to them. But they are only pictures. So after a while, you're bored to run for pictures, looking for pictures, and you just enjoy the fact to be able to modify the architecture just by moving inside. So you can decide to have 2 or 3 more rooms in your flat. And it's really very simple pleasure, and it works for that. So It's Got Flat was the first of the series, The Big Questions. Now maybe we can go further. You can see moving, we see nothing, okay, we can go to the next one. So the second, if it's possible to fast forward. Just a little bit. Is it possible to fast forward, please, for the video? Please, for the video, is it possible to fast forward?
Fast forward.
Yes. We stop when it's black. Okay, we can stop here and just play. Now, this is the second big question after It's Got Flat, is the devil curved? So normally it's not red, it's blue. We need sound, please. Please, we need sound. We need more sound. Thank you. So it's exactly the same principle. At the starting point, you're in a square room, and you can dig corridors in the sky, just moving inside. Normally it's the sky because it's not red, only blue. And there is something living in the sky. Well, this is not a video, this is interactive, so you can act by yourself. Not here, but next time. So now we can reduce the sound, please. So not completely, we can keep just a little background. So this is very simple. This thing moving in the sky is completely autonomous. It's completely independent. It has a simple behavior with a mission. The behavior is to move like that, and also to try to find the person, the user. So the user is digging corridors and the thing is coming to him or her. This thing reacts to our contact and is very sensible in our interest. That means that if you touch it, you can get some reactions, very positive reactions, because your presence give it pleasure, and it expresses it in a very clear way. So you can go, can reach the orgasm after a while. You just have to be patient. What is interesting is after that, this thing was ordered by Canal+, a French TV channel, to be presented on Canal+ booth in Imagina. They wanted to present It's Got Flat. I said, it's not for a TV channel. So I'm going to do something for that. This thing moving inside is measuring all the time, evaluating our interest. It's made of 6 spheres. Oh, sorry, 5 spheres. It's made of 5 spheres. If the user interest is very high, we consider that the composition of the 5 spheres is good. If we are not interested in it, if we go away, we consider the combination is bad. That means that progressively, this thing learns how to seduce a wider audience. It works exactly like a TV program in prime time that tries to seduce a wider audience. So it's like a whore, ready for everything, and just trying to find the shape, the definitive seducing shape. So you can see everything has been built during one session. The starting point was this. This was the first room, and we have built all this thing just moving inside in one time. So the sound is completely interactive, depending on what is done. And now you can see the PC version, and Jean-Baptiste will tell you something about it. Just we can stop a minute, please. Just because obviously I had some reactions about the fact. What do you mean by is the devil curved and showing curves, shapes, and using a sound that looks like very clearly a female sound? Do you mean that female has something to do with devil or something like that? So I thought that if everybody could take it at the first level, I had to be careful. So the PC version is a politically correct version. So the politically correct version is more complex in terms of course, colors and sound. And for the color of the thing evolves from the dark brown to the pink, to the acid pink, so it can be multiracial. And for the sound, Jean-Baptiste will tell you what he did on it.
Really, very rapidly, because you're going to hear it. What we did was to try to apply kind of morphing techniques. In computer music, traditionally, we use a different word for that. We call it interpolation. So we decided to take different sounds from different sources. We just discussed about race, but we also extended this idea to the fact that, as you heard up to now, this was sounds presumably produced by a woman, so we made sounds produced by a man, and we also made all sorts of sounds that could have been produced by something in between. So we can evolve, so to say, from man to woman, and go to all sorts of genetic mutations in between. But what is more interesting is that we try to find a similar kind of level of variations with sounds from animals. That was the extension of the idea. And for this, we used sounds coming from cats, wolves, and also lions. And altogether, what is happening is a kind of matrix system in which we are evolving. We are all the time meeting a different creature, something which is all the time evolving in between all these different parameters in a very, I would not say complex way, because what is complex is a process, but in a very semi-deterministic way, because it depends on the parameters which are detected, and inside the parameters which are detected, we adjust, we try to find more interesting relations. So the basic principle here is a permanent interpolation or morphing, if you prefer that word, between all these different axes, and therefore you can never know what you're going to get as a kind of creature. The result of that, as you're going to hear and see, is that it becomes really different, and as a matter of fact, sometimes it's really frightening. But see.
So we can have the the video now. Just a short short thing about with the sound, please. Very important. As you can see, it's really politically correct. I think we've answered to most of the questions concerning that approach. What is important in this kind of work is that the environment is very simple. We don't make any technical demonstration, and the experience of the thing is very simple. So you have children using it and adults, and you can use it as a simple game, for example, and also maybe to try to understand a little bit what could be the meaning. Concerning It's Got Flat, Jean-Paul Fargier wrote that it was maybe the first metaphysical video game. He wrote nothing about Is the Devil Curved, so I cannot... I don't understand what to think about it. Please, just... So now we're going to see another work. Yes, please, if it's possible to stop. Another work. Oh, no, just... We are short, maybe. Just I show you one thing, the third of the big questions. So we need that. So the third one of the big question is, after Is God Flat, Is the Devil Curved, it's and what about me? So you can see it on the web. And what about me is a very simple thing. It doesn't function really, it doesn't work here because it's a Java applet. And we need some transactions that cannot work with firewall, I think. This is simple. You can see the world from the sky, and you, yes, this is a bit dark for you. And normally you have small things, some little stones that are already fallen on the earth. I can show you what happens. You just choose one of them. You say hello, for example, and you say OK. And you can decide to arrive on the Earth and to see how the fact to exist on the world is a way to change it. For example, I arrive here. So this is simple. I can do it one more time, putting my address, for example. Sorry, it's not the keyboard, I know. No, not funny. And now I can just, for example, go to Linz here. So you can see you change the world just by your presence. It's maybe a way to say that what happens in virtual worlds, that it maybe in the first time in the history of the techniques of representation, it's possible to have a world with a meaning, and also a world that can take account of our presence. We are existing in it, and sometimes the fact we exist in it are a big part, an important part of the meaning. So just here you can see, you can answer, you think, oh, I would like to send an email to this person and cannot do it because I didn't prepare the Netscape, I didn't program Netscape for that. So you can see what is the message, send with it, and you can also send a message and answer, because when you come on Earth, maybe you are welcome, maybe not. And during the time, these things reduced, and progressively the world take again the same shape, original shape. This is a way to say maybe that if we can change the world, it's just for a while, and maybe for a little part. Another version of and what about me is a way you just click on to and what about me too, and it's a way to participate to the rewriting of the Genesis. Just the beginning of Genesis, of 7 days, and everybody can contribute to rewrite this part, and you have few words you can replace, and the text had evolved during this last months, but more the French one than the English one. So I don't know how is the English one right now. The French one is quite very difficult to read now. So this was the big questions. So after that, some people was interested by the fact of digging. Why not? So. I've made a thing called the tunnel under the Atlantic, and this tunnel was between Centre Georges Pompidou in Paris and Museum of Contemporary Art in Montreal. So we can see the video now. And it was a 1 week event. We need really to be in the dark because the tape seems to be very dark. This is the opening, and we had a big tube, both sides, 7 meters long, and at the end of the tube was a screen of 2 meters wide. It's not so dark normally, but I think we cannot do anything. We are digging in a material that is now actually pictures, made of pictures. These pictures becomes block of material, like a block of marble. And we are like worms digging into marble, discovering some veins around us, and we are also able to dig all around to reveal all the picture. This is a way maybe to dig into the past, the common past between France and Canada at this time, replacing layers, geological layers by iconological layers. And you can create very big caves like that, very big spaces, made only by people digging inside. So during 1 week, both sides, people were digging and able to talk to each other at the same time. The voice of the other one indicates the direction where to go to meet him or her. So it was a way to find the other one. So also at the same time, you have a camera taking a picture of you floating in the space. And exactly at the place you are digging. This is the first meeting after 5 days. She say, you're red with a white thing. So Martin Matalon made an interactive music for this work. It was a complete composition, musical composition. And we've done a new, we can stop just 1 minute, please? Please, you can go back just 1 minute. And we have done a new tunnel between Paris and New Delhi in India. It was in January. And Jean-Baptiste worked on the interactive music. Maybe you could say some things about that, and how we use interactivity to spatialize and to give a meaning to sounds.
Well, there is something that Maurice didn't describe in the tunnel. All the time you are moving towards the other. And all the images and therefore sounds in this specific version that you are crossing are in fact categorized. They are part of a system of classification. And at every single moment, there is an analysis of where you are in this system of classifications. So there is a large database of image and a large database of sounds. And these two are explored depending on the location of the person in the tunnel. So what we did for the music, which was different from the music Martin Matalon made for the first tunnel, was to make a kind of similar documentation that was done for the image. That is, we assemble quite a bit of sound, so to make, as I said, a sound database. And then we try to find a way to modify, to unify all these different elements. And the way we did that was to use some kind of filters for, this is a kind of a technical detail, but anyway, it works also, I guess, as a metaphor visually. That is, all the materials which were corresponding from this database, as much as they are in the image modified and transformed by a specific transform, are modified and transformed by a specific sonic transform in the sonic dimension. Therefore, as much as the image, the sound works as a cue to help to know where you are in this way between France and India. And the way this kind of transform is made is based on the idea of trying to give a specific color to this transformation, which is either on the French pole, so to say, or the Indian pole. So this was another kind of musical dimension, which was dealing with the idea to try to characterize what could be, let's say, a French or an Indian identity from the musical standpoint, and how we could use that as a source for transforming this sound material. The final thing, which is important and which was already mentioned, but which maybe needs to be explained a little bit further, is the fact that when you were digging in the specific direction of whichever direction, the sound cue of the localization, that is the place in the space around you where you were hearing the person eventually talking to you, was helping you to decide if you were going into the right direction. That is, if the sound was of the, let's say, the voice of this person that you were trying to reach and meet was in front of you, then you were digging in the right direction. If it was slightly out of phase, you could just turn a little bit the joystick and go back in the correct direction. And then there were all sorts of other ideas that were realized, specifically when the so-called meeting, the encounter, was happening, where all these different materials would meet in order to do some specific, let's say, event that would express the kind of celebration that this was meant to be.
I forgot, of course, to precise something a little bit important concerning the space. I'm not sure if it's really clear, but in the kind of world we're working on, nothing is built before. Everything is built by the fact we are existing in it. So this is not a fly-through, this is not a virtual reality simulation like a flight simulator. It's a world definitely virtual and definitely depending of our behavior and also of what you are, we are. What is important also is in the tunnel concept to understand that when you're moving inside, the cubes, like sugar cubes, constituted by the pitcher, extruded pitcher, are never in front of you before you come. So we can decide at the last time which cube to choose. And this cube with the help of a software we are developing now called Garde-Vue, this cube is decided, this image, the next image is decided according to your behavior and your displacement in space. So progressively, you are more and more into pictures that you like or that could interest you, even if you don't ask. And in the internet version, it will be possible to meet people interested in the same subject, into pictures that are supposed to interest both, even if you are not able to speak the same language. So this is the garde-à-vue concept, very simple, but a bit efficient in what we are talking about. So we can see just, sorry, but it's very short sequence for the tunnel Paris-New Delhi. And the meeting was every 5 minutes, around 5 minutes. The other one was 5 days. We need sound. No, sorry. You can stop. I'm talking all the time on it. This is a real problem. This tape was made before. And we can see the pictures, but we have to reduce the sound because I think I'm talking all the time. And with my bad English, it's really hard for me to hear it. But we can, yes, we can now, you can just see people from India. It was an interview with India at the time through the tunnel. But you know what was interesting during the tunnel? Paris-Montreal, tunnel under the Atlantic. People came 1 or 2 hours a day and every day. It was really interesting because they had the feeling to participate to something very important. And the connecting time after 5 days was a very intense time in terms of emotion. Emotionally, it seems to be very important. And the fact that the picture, the floating picture, has a very bad resolution was not for nothing, it was for something in this feeling, because you really have the feeling of the distance. You don't think that, of course, with video we could have a very good quality picture, a very good picture quality, but not with that mean. We used the ISDN line, and it was very low resolution, and we really had the feeling to have established some important contact, important connection with somebody very far. And we had people talking from France to India, speaking different languages, but able to share something because they was able to make signs and just to say they exist, and very happy to meet together. Now, we are going, I think I split hypercube, it's too short. Okay. Now we can talk about why we are here. The previous work got an honorary mention previous years, but so it's world skin. We could go, maybe we don't use this tape. We change the tape, we take the third one, please. And we can say a few words before. So maybe some of you, or probably many of you, have seen the cave installation in the Ars Electronica Center. So it's called World Skin. And for those who haven't seen it yet, so it's in the cave. So that means you are completely surrounded by the pictures. It's in 3D. That means you use stereoscopic glasses, shutter glasses, and you can see everything in 3D. Please, we can go back to the tape. Because we need the sound starting from the beginning. Oh, no, not for this part. It's okay, sorry.
Because we started 30 minutes behind the schedule. I was previously told that we can stay here until 7 o'clock, but I was just given that new information that the translator is leaving in a couple of minutes. So I'm very sorry for those people who has been using the translation into German. So afterwards, so we only have English. So please understand
if we can call that English. If we are not completely dark, it's not possible to see this picture. So you can just turn off the lights completely. And this one too, it's not necessary to see me. Thank you. And the sound can be louder. So this is just for the beginning. Maybe I'm going to give you some information. So this is a photo safari in the land of war. That means that people inside the cave are like a group of tourists. This group of tourists is visiting a virtual world. This is not so dark normally. This group of tourists is visiting a virtual world. This virtual world is the land of war, so you can see really nothing. This is incredible. You don't know what to do. Maybe the other tape was better. Sometimes you can see some things. So as a good group of tourists, you have a photo camera and you can take pictures. So you take pictures in the virtual world. Maybe we will keep this tape for the sound, and we go back, to the first one, because I think we can see the pictures a little bit more precisely. So you are able to take pictures in the virtual world. What you take is removed from the scene, so it becomes white. And progressively, you are erasing all these traces of memory. These traces are made by photos and videos from the Second World War and also the Bosnia War. I wanted to have more different origins. And when you take pictures, you don't have this rectangle. It's supposed to be the photo camera. And you don't have the cursor, too. It's just to explain. So when you take pictures, you remove the part corresponding of this picture. And you can get it on a printout. So it becomes material. You have taken the world skin, the photo skin, and you keep it for you, and nobody else can take it after you. But when you do that, we cannot say that you remove completely the traces. So ghost still remains in this space. And something really important is that the sound contributes. So we have some pictures. The sound contributes the immersion quality and the meaning too. So I think that Jean-Baptiste will tell you some things about the sound, and maybe we can go back to the other one for the sound. It was better. What do you think?
Well, we're rushing out of time, so I'll make it very short.
No, I think it's okay for the time. It's just the problem is the translation.
Anyway. It was very clear for us from the beginning when we started to work on this project that there was no idea from the artistic.
Please speak a little slower for those who are not native speaker. Your English is too good.
Okay, sorry. So I have to slow down. Okay, it was clear for us from the beginning that from an artistic and even ethical point of view, because of the subject, the war and the image of war, and our relation to the image of war, that we couldn't consider to use a perspective that would be, let's say, illustrative music, or even worse, from our point of view, let's say something like film music, in a way, for instance, somebody like Coppola has been using music in something like Apocalypse Now. But we were looking for something, therefore, which was completely different, which was really using the sonic dimension as an integrative, as a fusional part of the piece. And we decided to go in a direction which was to try to come back to, very much because of the situation, because of the content of the piece, to a very primal, essential function of the sound, which is coming back to all the times of mankind, and actually of other species too, where sound was a cue for us about how to interpret the information coming to our senses, specifically in hostile environments. So the way this works in WorldSkin is the following. For instance, this is the most important part in terms of the dramaturgy, and it also helped to construct the form of the piece. When the people in the cave are pressing the trigger of the camera, Well, at first, this is just followed by the sound of a normal trigger. And little by little, if they come to be excited by this situation, the sound of the trigger will be followed by something like bullet impacts, which starts to reveal that there's something weird going on and that is not a natural situation. And if they continue to be excited, if they take more and more pictures, both as individuals but also collectively, because we are tracking this, we are observing, we're making statistics about their photographic activity, well, then, little by little, again, the noise of the trigger becomes the noise of a gun. And at the end of this process, this gun becomes a machine gun, and there is a kind of climax, which is a death scream, which is turning in spiral all around the audience, like aspiring, like taking everybody into the dead of the earth. So that is the most important aspect of the sound. There are also other considerations which are dealing with let's say, the whiteness. The more you take pictures, therefore, the more you remove the skin of the world, the more a specific sonic texture, which you could hear. Could we have the sound now? So
the other tape, the third one.
The more this very, matter of fact, I suppose, from my point of view at least, very sad harmonic texture is growing and invading, and again, participating to the global feeling that this situation is definitively not normal. So the function of the sound here is really to somehow reveal progressively, according to your experience and according to your relation to the piece, the atrocity of the situation and the ambiguity of the situation. So
we can maybe reduce the light and have the sound louder.
Could it be quite loud? So it would be nice.
The sound.
Well, something we didn't say, but which is obvious, is that this is an interactive piece. What you see is a video. The image is actually very bad. The sound is even worse. But we welcome you in the cave. The piece will be playing all over tomorrow.
Change in a certain way, and probably the meaning comes from this confrontation, from this complementarity between the user and what is presented. The print thing is important too at the same time, so it's important to get the print, and all the pictures taken are visible on the website, so I can show you what it looks like. You can see 100 of the last pictures. I don't know how this computer works. Not enough cash. This is a problem when you come at the end of the afternoon. Okay. So you can see the last pictures with the date, the hour. Yes, it's still dark. Sorry. It was a sound experience. So I think we can stop here because it's very late. But maybe you would have some question. Don't know about what we've shown.
Thank you very much, Maurice and Jean-Baptiste.